Hello, this video is on the Saudi Arabian crisis with the invasion of Bahrain by Saudi Arabian troops who were invited in an act of treason by the Bahraini royal family, who are Sunnis as the Saudi Arabians are Wahhabi Sunnis, and the Shia Bahrainians citizens who have asked for a constitutional monarchy and democracy have been thoroughly crushed by Saudi troops. What is the conflict between the EU and the US on this issue, and can these divisions be exploited by the Saudi Arabians to cause the West more problems, or can the West unite and make a final solution to the problem of Saudi corruption in the Middle East, and the support by the Saudis of terrorist regimes and feudalist families such as the Bin Laden crime family who did 9/11. Now, the EU is set out with these democratic revolutions in Libya and Tunisia and Egypt to create a Middle Eastern Union, a North African Union, that will be in the sphere of European dominance and a co-prosperity sphere, so to speak. But the United States is clinging on to its old ways of doing things with the CIA and the industrial military complex supporting these feudalistic crime families. Why do they do this? It's not because the United States is not a lover of democracy or human rights, but that the CIA is an inherently evil organisation. It is not. It is made up of individuals with some of them have morals, some of them do not. But there is a community of interest between two enemies, the United States on one side and Saudi Arabia on the other. And the Saudi Arabians share this community of interest in the oil spigot and the supply of oil and gas to the United States. The United States typically is trying to take a pragmatic view and have its cake and eat it. While the administration, the Obama administration, is trying to say that we want democratic change in the Middle East to be more like the United States conception of a democracy or a constitutional republic, or more practically, from the British perspective, that there be constitutional monarchies within the Gulf area and constitutional republics in North Africa and in the central Middle East, namely Iraq. And this is followed up by the EU's view of it being within an overview of laws and human rights and other things that have been affected by the EU's presence there, or specifically in Chad, fighting against the Sudanese and the Bin Laden crime family in China, in Chad, and in Sudan, where the EU has a large military presence. The French have been the ones who have been storming ahead to try and get airstrikes against Colonel Gaddafi in this area, and it is the Europeans who are leading. The United States has been caught quite unaware by this revolution, and this is why I believe that the democratic revolutions in Tunisia and Egypt, if they have any foreign influence on them, is being done by the EU and not the United States. But what are we to do about those evil bastards, the Saudi Arabian royal family, and those equally evil bastards, the Bin Laden crime family, who are probably responsible for the invasion of Bahrain? Although the Saudi royal family is split along familiar and sectarian lines, and the more extreme Wahhabis and the more practical Sunnis. Well, this is a difficult question to answer in a vid, but what is clear is that in Riyadh, King Abdullah is probably the one who's ordered this outrage, And what is the EU to do and the United States to do about it? Well, while the United States is considering itself in a dilemma as to whether it's a European or a Pacific power, and I'll do a vid on Western adaptation to that situation later on. The United States is distracted by the earthquake in Japan and North Korea in Asia. But we are still talking about a superpower that can fight 2 or more wars, or maybe even 4 wars, on 4 separate continents. Whereas the Europeans are still trying to get their act together, even though they have more military capability and more economic capability than the United States on paper. In reality, it is their economic and political power which the EU should use, while the United States actually does the war fighting. Where the French have wanted to flex their muscles and the EU has flexed its muscles in Chad, it's with successfully defeating the Janjaweed militia in Sudan. But Gaddafi's forces will be, and Saudi Arabian forces, if we are to invade Saudi Arabia, which is what I've been calling for years, and to finally end this war, which started with 9/11, arguably as the major action, but it can only end with the defeat of Saudi Arabia. They're the ones who are supporting the Bin Laden crime family. They're the ones who are giving refuge to them. They're the ones who are doing banking and oil business with them. They must be defeated, and we must take the war to their sand, to put their blood in their sand, rather than our skyscrapers being destroyed by suicide bombers on planes. Now, to bring it to the point about Libya, is that we need airstrikes now, and where the French and the British are trying to push for this, even though the British have, because of our defence cuts, have taken away our offensive capability to project force. The French still have carriers, the Italians still have carriers. The Germans, though, are reticent because they are too frightened of themselves to lead Europe in the way that they should be leading Europe as the most powerful player in Europe. Maybe not militarily, but definitely economically, because Germany is the largest exporter and importer in the world. What must happen is that we must find a way to get rid of Gaddafi. Well, this may mean that we need boots on the ground, and I'm sure that oil companies such as BP probably have their own mercenaries or have got people on the ground or are trying to get the Europeans involved in Libya with actual ground troops. We are desperately in need of oil at this present time after the financial crisis, and we need a democratic Middle East and democratic North Africa, and in a North African Union, Middle Eastern Union that will have social markets that produce to the point of maximum social benefit, and that do not have a high oil price, but also have liberty for their and equality for their citizens. But this war, in the war against terror, is being intermingled with the democratic revolutions, and it's notable to see that Al Qaeda has not made any statement on this. It's notable that the Bin Ladens have not made a calling for an Islamic caliphate in North Africa. Why? Because they were as shocked as anyone else to find out what was happening, and that heartens me. But the Chinese and the Saudi Arabians have hardened their position, and now we must fight them with all our means. We must bring this war on terror to an end by invading Saudi Arabia. That's my final view on it. And the EU should be the ones leading this, because the American administration and old timers in America, the American establishment, cannot be trusted to do this. It must be a European-led invasion. And the Americans must be a maritime power, while the Europeans are the land power and superpower in this area. Thank you for listening.